Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Sentinels are giving their perspective on their recent difficult result against Crew Esports, intending to turn things around as they go through the rest of the stage in North America, but also what's going on the Scrimbuck side of things. Sentinels spotted in a couple of interesting scrims last night, certainly against Cloud9, but also against M80, and reportedly, it could well be Chet, formerly of NRG, that's now taken a spot up on that M80 organisation. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate. Unfortunately, yesterday was April Fool's, so Leo is actually not back into the Fnatic lineup as yet, and obviously there are a few other things going down about that as well. This one from the VST Pacific was like, oh, Texture, what, is he retired or something? It's like, come on, let's be serious for a couple of seconds. But some updates yesterday to go through on the game itself. We had some nerfs and other changes coming through. For example, Vise, who has become, Vise initially wasn't really used all that much, now has become a little bit more popular in the meta, but a couple of nerfs on the wall duration and the Razor Vine to at least take note of. I think some of the big changes really came here to KO. So, yeah, certainly a buff in some regards, especially on the flash drive. I kind of like this one. Upon bouncing, flashes will now start at a 0.8 second windup and then pop. The windup has a unique audio and visuals when triggered. The underhand maximum flash duration has gone up. The increased VO callout range of the flashing has gone up. The unequip time has gone down. So I think many will be pretty happy with these changes. I think KO is a pretty good agent anyway. This makes him slightly more powerful, and there was a couple of, just things noted here in terms of what that actually looks like. While this plays in the background, what I wanted to talk about really was Teho, because of course they brought this new agent into the game and he is frankly dominating the meta in some regard. I think what makes Teho so strong is that he can be used anywhere. Like, he's great for defense and offense, he's great for retaking a site and for holding on to it. Other agents don't necessarily do that, and I think that's why he's, obviously many other reasons why he's so powerful right now. It's just a classic really, like, right, introducing new agents, the agent is real good. That's how it tends to be, and maybe they don't want to nerf or restrict that agent too much so quite as of yet, because, yeah, as it stands, Teho is still perfectly viable and in the game right now as he previously has been, despite the fact that he's kind of taken over the meta lately. Certainly in pro play, his pick rate is going up substantially. So whether that's going to change, because, obviously they've made a couple of changes to the patch notes here, but we've not seen any changes to Teho quite as of yet. So these are the couple of changes here to KO. Teho is staying as he is for the time being. There's also this pretty notable. So Yoru's fake out clone is going from 100 credits to 200 credits, which I'm not really sure is necessary, to be honest. I don't know what you guys think in the comments below. Yoru, to me, doesn't feel that strong to make it necessary to nerf him to this degree. It's not a substantial nerf, but it's still relevant. But Durga has a pretty funny comment and says, like, yeah, you could also do it for free, as he famously did. Just walk into the site, no issues there. Like, you don't have to pay 200 credits for it. You just walk in and get all the kills. But of course, easier said than done. So yeah, still a feeling on whether Teho will be nerfed in the relatively near future. Intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. But let's talk about a couple of big results over the last few days. Of course, Sentinels have been one of the big teams under the spotlight as of late because of the success they had last year, certainly at Madrid. Sassy retiring, Tens retiring, whether they could and will get to the same level again with Bang coming in and with Narrate coming in. There was lots of optimism around this team, but of course, some degree of necessity it felt to have good leadership on the roster, and there's other things that Kaplan is struggling with too. He reckons in their series against Crew, they didn't have the decisiveness that they required. Lots of indecision. It actually got worse as the series went on. And he even puts that down to some degree to a lack of confidence in the team's abilities to be able to execute in certain scenarios. So not to say that Sentinels can't turn it around, but I think there's a fitting here with what Kaplan has to say in this excellent interview. I'll link the entire thing for you guys down below if you guys want to check it out, on the team not being where they need to be. Not in terms of talent and skill, that's undisputed, but the way that the current meta plays out, you've got to make difficult decisions sometimes and be confident that your decisions are correct. And Sentinels right now are struggling with that, certainly against superior opposition. Crew deserve a lot of respect, but Sentinels will feel like they probably would have beaten them on a better day, and maybe the better days won't arrive until they sort out some of these big issues.
Just the way we played the game very fundamentally in terms of our energy. Like, we were definitely... Lotus defense was fine. We had a plan. I guessed they would play something similar to that comp. We talked about how to deal with it, and I think we were just like small protocols were missing, which is going to happen when you don't have a lot of time, and that's all right. Like, we were pretty happy with 6 rounds. I was anyway, but the way the attack half snowballed, like, we were just very kind of hesitant. It's the type of game where if you take too long to have an idea or you don't play on your terms, like you're not proactive, you just get crushed because of the way the utility is. And it really felt like there was a lot of like second guessing, questions, standing around, just like waiting for the game to kind of come to us. And you can't play like that in this meta. And we just got punished for it.
It's like over time there's more indecisiveness starting to build up as the series went on.
Yeah, definitely. There was a lot of indecision or just like which decision do we take, or just no attempt at a decision or doing anything at all in spots where you cannot have no decision, let alone take more than 3 seconds to decide on one. It's just like a confidence kind of flow thing as a team. It's a really punishing video game for that reason. Like, you can have as much prep as you want, but you end up in weird spots when you play Valorant, and spots you haven't been in before, and you have to be able to think on your toes, and like that's very intertwined with confidence. Like, if you're not willing to think on your toes and trust yourself, you can't beat anybody no matter what kind of team you are.
So we'll have a look at some of the Scrimbucks here in a second on the Sentinel side, but it's also worth noting this. So the other day, Chet tweets this out: "I'm coming back, Riot." He's signed the contract. Now his deal, like his ban, is over, right? After Bangkok and all the 6-month, 8-month ban, whatever it was, came to a close, and Chet can now compete and return to VCT competition. And he tweeted this out yesterday, running it back with NRG1 last time. I think on mobile, these might fool you, and this is April Fool's, obviously, right, from yesterday, but on PC I can very clearly see that this is a 2022 tweet, so pretty obviously he's not going anywhere. But Chet says running it back with NRG one last time, and it's actually not going to be the case. So James says, "Welcome back, 4th time is the charm, can't get rid of me." But potentially they can get rid of him. They did, and they may well continue to, because we've got some interesting screenshots to share for you guys last night. Now, VCT Scrims put a few of them out here. For example, Sentinels were scrimming against the M80 team. They've made an interesting change, dropping, of course, well, we think maybe Weeded will come back in, but they've dropped B-Dog, of course, down to their bench for now. So exactly what their team is of 5, given the changes that they made, is a bit of a question mark, but they were practicing last night. They were practicing against Sentinels. They were down 8-2 in this moment. But actually some further screenshots of this that are worthy of note. So I believe the 8-2 actually became 10-2, and appreciate Mr. Anonymous sending these graphics to me, because, well, these show a couple of things. So as we can see here, we've got, Sen Zelsis, Sen Kaplan, Sen Zekin up 10-2 on M80 Okonos. And also, here's Chet seemingly in the lobby. So either, this is photoshopped, or Chet, someone's playing under a different account called Chet, or it's plausible that this is where Chet's going to end up. Now, if Chet does go to M80, it would be very interesting, just because they've got a pretty substantial staff over there already. I mean, as we just saw, they've got Psycho still working with M80 to some degree, as seemingly their coach, general manager. They've got Drew Spark, also formerly of Sentinels, on the team as well as their coach. You'd think that was a pretty good setup, really. You've got one coach, one kind of coach GM, that makes sense. But the idea of bringing in Chet as well would certainly be a storyline, but it would make a fair bit of sense, right? I mean, M80 want to get to the next level. Having someone with Chet's experience could be viable. But yeah, so they were scrimming Sentinels. They were down 10-2. There was also this one where they were seemingly scrimming G2, and they were up at this point 10-8. This is definitely a more notable one in a way because of how good G2 are, certainly in scrims. The idea of M80 being at least even competitive with Leaf and these guys was impressive, and here's Chet spotted again. And then we have just another one here against Evil Geniuses, where they were at least at this point up 3-0 with Ye and with Potter on the other side. So yeah, we'll see what is confirmed, if anything, over the next couple of days, but just keep in mind that this is a possibility that Chet goes to that M80 roster. What many of you guys may be more interested in, of course, is what Sentinels are up to. We'll see that in a second, but I think it's pretty notable if, for Sentinels especially, if they're 10-2 up on M80 and that same M80 team is 3-0 up on Evil Geniuses, 10-8 up on G2, maybe make Sentinels pretty happy about things. Also, we saw this, so they were 10-6 down to NRG, so, Som and Okonos as well spotted cooking up some scrims as always. And then just finally, we saw this one here that Sentinels were playing Cloud9. And, you know, we've got John QT, you know, McDonald's worker, Crowd Eater, whatever, playing the C9 boys. And yeah, it did seem like they were up 8-4 at the time. Narrate, bang, etc., etc. And maybe that went further, maybe it didn't. But yeah, and tweet your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Are Sentinels going to turn it around? If Chet goes to M80, is he going to be a crucial part of their revival? Very much and tweet your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.